From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Alison Mitchell and welcome to Stumped. With me is Jim Maxwell from ABC in Sydney and Charu Sharma is with us in Bangalore for Akashvani. Now, construction has begun on the Olympic Cricket Stadium for LA 2028 with hopes it could even host IPL teams in the future. Now, the stadium in the Southern Californian city of Pomona will become the home of Kolkata Knight Riders' US franchise, Los Angeles Knight Riders, and it will host Major League Cricket matches as early as this July. The BBC's Tim Abraham has been speaking to KKR's chief executive Venki Mysore after much scrutiny on the pitches during the T20 World Cup that was held in New York 2 years ago. Mysore is confident that the playing surfaces will meet elite standards.
For us, see, this is a venue that is going to be a very long-term type of a thing. I mean, because the kind of investment that goes into it, it has to be long-term in nature. And so we made a decision from the get-go that we will put a proper square, which will have 8 pitches in it, which is what ICC recommended to us. And I'm happy to report I saw it firsthand yesterday, and the square has been laid and the grass is growing, and so we have a permanent square there, which will have 8 pitches, and we also will have a practice facility which will have 8 pitches, literally adjacent to the main ground that is being put in place. So essentially, these are and there are the construction company who is working for us, as well as we have curators from Australia who have come down as consultants. So they've watched every step of the way, and I've learned more about the square and the soil and the sod and everything else, much more than I ever thought I would get into. But it's quite exciting, and it has already taken shape to a point where this square will be ready for hosting MLC games in the first week of July. And the outfield is getting ready, and the lights will be up. And so we'll have a field of play that will be world-class, Tim. That was always our goal. So we have not spared any expense in making sure that the field of play is going to be absolute world-class. It'll compare with any other top-notch cricket facility around the world.
Well, Tim also asked Venki Mysore if it's possible that Kolkata Knight Riders could play a game at the stadium in California in the future.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? I think the challenge with that, frankly, is always the player availability. Once the IPL season is over, everyone's got their calendars and they're all running in different directions. But BCCI in the past has talked about a couple of teams going out and playing exhibition games to sort of grow cricket in that region, plus also help in turn IPL in terms of fans from around other parts of the world. So that's always on the agenda. We've been trying. This is my 16th season with IPL, and we've tried every year, but somehow it's not happened, mainly because of player availability more than anything else. I think there's been a lot of interest to stage it, and we have had concrete proposals from particularly the US and Canada and stuff like that. But one day, if it becomes reality, and hopefully this will be added incentive.
Well, that's the BBC's Tim Abraham speaking to Venki Mysore, KKR's chief executive. Some interesting stuff in there. Charu, let me come to you first. If we go back to the World Cup in New York, and India was one of the teams that were reportedly unhappy with the pitch, what type of surface do you think KKR would be looking to curate in California?
Well, they personally as a team have a reasonably good bowling attack. But let's face it, what do fans love? What's closest to them? The boundary. So they like the 4s and the 6s. And, if there are wickets, 3 or 4 in the middle of the pitch, it's too far away for a fan to really exult and enjoy. So I suspect they'll have to be out-and-out batting pitches if they can actually make that happen, because pitch making the whole square is really a very complicated process. If you don't get it right the first time, they can keep digging it up and trying it again and again. I wonder which soil they're using, plenty of questions. But without doubt, batting pitches, because the fans would like to see the ball flying into their area more often than wickets falling. I mean, that's a given.
Well, the stadium and the pitches in particular should, Jim, have a bit more time to bed in a way that they didn't for the T20 World Cup in New York. Does that encourage you that the surfaces, should be up to scratch for the Olympics?
I'm not sure what we're going to get. Hopefully, the future of T20 is not all about fours and sixes, which worries me at the moment. It's become such a batsman's game that the bowlers they really shouldn't be paid as much as the batsmen, because the batsmen are the stars. Bowlers are like waiters coming out with champagne glasses for the batsmen to swill down. So
Poor bowlers.
yeah, the game is just, it's like golf. The big hitters are winning the argument. You've got fast outfields, small grounds, trampoline style bats. Who wants to bowl, for goodness sake, in these games? Well, someone wants to bowl because they get paid a lot of money for turning up and bowling 4 overs. It's very nice, thank you. So I just hope that it's a contest, that's all. I'm sick of watching slogathons, and basically that's what most of the IPL is.
I mean, a lot of the most interesting games are the ones where the bowlers come into it at whatever level of the game. You want to have that contest between bat and ball. Chari, going back to Major League Cricket, it does seem like quite a statement for the future of MLC that KKR are understood to have taken a long-term lease on a stadium that, will eventually have capacity for 15,000 by the time it's fully developed.
Well, I'm glad that the IPL has given rise to this kind of commercial success, which is what has allowed the KKR franchise, with their LA franchise, to actually take that long-term lease, which is wonderful for the game in LA or that part of the country. Remember, of course, geographically, they seem to enjoy reasonably good weather through the year, because I do wonder, it's great for the diaspora, the Asian diaspora. They'd love to be able to watch matches there. But how many of the seriously top-level matches can be held there? Maybe a little through the MLC, but you've got 365 days in a year. And if it's not used for big-time cricket for 355, then there's something to be said about white elephants as well. But maybe it'll be a big training venue for local teams. The biggest question in my mind, Alison, always remains, what of and if there is something like an average American, when are they going to take to the game? Because there's a big limit on the diaspora numbers. And by the way, they're set to reduce a bit considering what's going on. But the locals, the average American has to take to the game. And yes, having a permanent stadium with a reasonably good pitch and maybe a smashing of matches 5 or 7 during the year will create a little bit of noise. But is that enough? Not yet, not likely. But let me not sound cynical.
I noticed in that chat Tim Abram had there that Venki Mysore talked about the possibility of some exhibition matches. It's an interesting aspect of the development of the game potentially in the US, Charu. Surely if the game is going to develop and grab an audience, it needs the best players on show. So what's the chance of the best of the IPL turning up, including the 15-year-old who's wowing us all with his extraordinary hitting? That's got to happen, hasn't it?
Vaibhav Suryavanshi, unfortunately not playing for KKR. Maybe they've got an eye out for him. He's going to be an RR for a very long time. But, Jim, it's once again, I'm back to the average American argument, because that's what's required for a sport to grow in any country. And all I can say is that it's important to keep chipping away. Soccer has been chipping away for so many years in the US. The one window, Venki Mysore talked about the difficulty of getting players together, and that's a big problem for all IPL teams, barring the IPL window. But like a lot of other sports, and there was mention of NFL, before the season starts in India, all the teams do get together. If you have preseason games, that's a wonderful time for any team, certainly the KKR team also, to be in the US, play 2 or 3 matches amongst themselves or with other locals and, mix it all up and get a really big-time team playing in the US and attracting that kind of attention. So I do think it's not that difficult, provided they use the 2 or 3 weeks before the season before the first match to actually play in the US. And I have to once again add that commercially, the way IPL teams are going, I don't think that's going to be a barrier. So let's not hear the fact that we don't have a sponsor in the US and so on and so forth. The team can just go in there, fly there in a jet and fly back after playing 3 or 4 local matches. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. And it's a good way to start.
Well, it's going to be exciting to see just how the stadium goes and indeed where cricket goes in the States, with the MLC in particular feeling like it's very much on the up. Now, next on Stumped, the hype around the Women's T20 World Cup has gone up a notch, with England, the home nation, announcing its squad in a rather unique way. A video was released by the ECB with well-known presenters and stars from all different sports revealing the 15 players. The tournament's just over a month away. Nat Sciver-Brunt will captain the England side, and the squad includes the eye-catching call-up of uncapped left-arm spinner Tilly Courtine-Coleman, who is just 18 years of age. First thing, Jim, that announcement was pretty cool. You had sporting stars like Lando Norris, F1 champion Justin Rose, former major winner in golf, and darts champion Luke Littler all getting involved. Have you seen anything quite like that?
No, that's unique, and it's full of imagination and creativity. So well done for putting the message out there like that. I don't think anything like that has occurred with the men's or the women's game here. Maybe it's because there's so much competition to get the news and airspace to put your announcement out there. But I saw the video clip, and it was very clever indeed. So I hope that they get the profile and recognition from here on leading into the World Cup that they deserve. And I hope that it puts them up there on the front page to play in the final.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the New Zealand squad, the men's squad it was for the 2023 World Cup, being announced by their family members, which was really, really cute. You had the kids maybe with their mum saying, number 23, my dad, Kane Williamson, whatever it may be. It was very, very sweet, and that went quite viral. And again, 2024, the next year for the Women's T20 World Cup, New Zealand had two little kids sitting as if in a mock press conference announcing the squad. So they've done some pretty creative things as well. But, Jim, it is important, isn't it? This sort of thing helps to get cricket. It aligns it with the mainstream, which is important.
Very important, particularly with the women's game. Which, well, certainly in this country, if not in other places, has become very significant. And as I've said a few times, arguably Australia's best team in any sport is the women's cricket team. I think they've gone past the men now. So, yes, important to keep the profile up there. And that's a great way for England to do it, because they do need to jump back under the spotlight. They've been a bit backstage lately, haven't they?
Yeah, and the T20 World Cup will be played out against the background of the Football World Cup as well, and Wimbledon will be happening when the semi-finals get going. Chari, I mean, in India, I suppose you don't need any help to get cricket into the mainstream like that, and you get celebs aligned with cricket all the time, don't you?
Yeah, the two events you mentioned, that's a bit of a dampener in terms of viewership. But you're back in India, Alison. Cricket's obviously been in the forefront for many decades now. Not so women's cricket. And I think it was the WPL, and I can credit the WPL for ensuring that a lot more attention was heaped on women's cricket. Now, when it comes to endorsement, you mentioned some big names of sport in the UK. What could be bigger than the male cricketers in India talking about women's cricket? So that's been happening for quite a while now. But, just the multi-sport in me, or multi-sport person in me, wishes that other sports persons also get aligned with cricket, and I used to promote cricket. Now, nothing quite so exceptional in India in terms of announcing the team so far. I think the board almost always takes that privilege of announcing the teams. But how fabulous to think of something more creative to announce a cricket team, even if it's the women's, certainly not the men's, and have sports persons or other persons of eminence announcing the teams. That would be just fantastic to give them also, especially other sports persons, a little ray of sunshine. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yep, and talking about eye-catching moments, the part of the announcement that was most eye-catching is the inclusion of Tilly Courtine-Coleman, just 18 years of age. No Tammy Beaumont, by the way. She actually captained England the last time she played a T20 back in July of last year, but hasn't featured in the last couple of World Cup squads in that format. Leg spinner Sarah Glenn is injured. But yes, Courtine-Coleman, she's been performing well in recent months domestically and intra-squad matches on the South Africa tour they went on. Is there an element of gamble in picking an uncapped 18-year-old for a World Cup?
Well, I don't think so. I think it's a very exciting thing for her, without doubt. But I wonder if she's going to get a game, though. But even just sitting around in the dressing room along with the rest of the big stars, it's a fabulous move. And obviously she's ready in many ways, certainly in terms of talent. One just hopes that she has a nice steady head on her shoulders through the World Cup and then gains from it as she goes along. But I also wonder, with so many lefty spinners in the team, whether she's going to get a game. But still, great news, and always nice to see the birth of young, raw, fabulous talent.
She's a really smart cricketer. She's been around the game for a long time, certainly. Got her first cap under 11s with Kent. And who gave it to her? But Charlotte Edwards, who is Kent legend herself. And now, of course, the England coach, who's also coached her at Southern Brave, which she joined when she was just 16. And if you think, Alice Capsey made her burst onto the scene at the age of 16, then went on to make an England debut in that sense. 18, she's actually had a good couple of years and featuring in that greater pressure cooker of the 100 to develop and become, this more rounded individual and cricketer. So I'd say she's been on the watch list for a while. And Cherry, when you mentioned whether she'll get a game, yes, she is one of 3 left arm spinners in the squad, along with Sophie Ecclestone, who, I think is nailed on to be starting. So kind of battling with Lindsay Smith for a place. And they bowl with similar pace, but I think Courtine Coleman actually gets more turns. There's certainly going to be lots of options for Siva Bruntz, and they've got Charlie Dean there as well as an off spinner.
Alison, I must also ask you, what do you think the selectors saw in her, and if you've seen her performances as well, to fast track her to the England team? Because it must be something extraordinary.
I think it is that ability that she's got, the maturity, the ability to really turn the ball. She just seems as if she's been on the radar, as I said, for such a long time. Charlotte Edwards knows her game really inside out. So she's certainly impressed when she's been playing in these intra-squad games and domestically. And she's a talent. So, at 18 years of age, get her in there. And you said an exciting pick.
You mentioned Charlotte Edwards, and I just thought I'd quote her once again, because she has also mentioned 2 key words. She said that Tilly is ready and mature. Now, how mature can somebody be at 18? Obviously, she is well beyond her years. But I suppose if you're good enough, you're old enough.
I think so. And you know what as well? This year in the 100, she went for over £100,000 bought by Southern Brave, which is a massive leap from the, 12 grand or so she would have been on last year. So, I mean, in a financial sense, she has had to grow up and mature very, very quickly. I mean, at her age, at 18, I think I was getting £3 an hour at my local radio station answering the phone lines, wrapping up presents for competition winners. She was 9 years old when England won the 2017 World Cup. So she's grown up, of course, in this era of England having been champions, but, haven't won anything since. So there's a big, big job ahead of this England squad now. Well, the opening game of the World Cup is the 12th of June. I'm really excited to be commentating. Of course, the BBC will carry commentary of all the matches. That is it for Stumped for this week. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. I'll say thanks to Charu Sharma and to Jim Maxwell, and we'll see you all next time. Bye for now.